What is going on, everybody? My name is Alex, and welcome back to another Call of Duty Vanguard Zombies video. So Treyarch just released a huge blog, and I actually recorded a huge 30-minute video breaking down the whole blog, and then I was starting to edit it, and I was like, this is just a mess. This is too long. Nobody wants to watch a 30-minute video, so I thought we would break down each section of the blog in its own video, talk about it, and then if you want to continue on with all of the other content, you can just move forward with that. Just bite-sized videos are easier to digest, and you can watch them at your own leisure rather than watching a 30-minute video on something that you can just easily read yourself. This way, it's a little more interactive. So I guess this is the first video of 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know how many we're going to make, but we're going to be making them all day. So let's just continue on with the content. So the start of this blog talks about the all-new Zombies experience. Call of Duty Vanguard Zombies arrives this Friday, and we're kicking off launch week with the details you need to prepare for the next chapter of the Dark Aether story, starting on November 5th. During last month's Vanguard Zombies first look, the team at Treyarch introduced an all-new objective-driven zombies experience in Der Anfang. This spans across 4 locations at launch, including Stalingrad, Merville, Paris, and Shinonuma. We debuted the official gameplay reveal trailer to the world, introduced all new characters at the Call of Duty blog, and showcased the Dark Aether powers that you'll wield in-game, and later this week, we'll unveil the Der Anfang intro cinematic to shed even more light on the narrative journey that lies ahead. In our recent Zombies Team QA, we mentioned plenty of returning elements that longtime fans know and love, including the mystery box, Pack-a-Punch, perks, monkey bomb, and more, as well as the return of the crafting table and custom loadouts, armor, as well as exfil systems from Black Ops Cold War. But we're also delivering an entirely fresh take on Zombies in Vanguard, and there's a mountain of new gameplay systems to dive into. Let's get started. Dark Aether entities and artifacts. At the Treyarch blog, we introduced a sinister new antagonist coming to Vanguard Zombies, Wolfram von List. Through the power of Dark Aether magic, he has formed a bond with Cortifex the Deathless, a former Dark Aether lord, with the power to raise the dead, and I'm assuming this is why we are having zombies inside of the mode, because he can, raise the undead. And this is threatening to turn the tide of the Second World War. Thankfully, you'll have the opportunity to call the artifacts of 4 rival Dark Aether entities to aid the fight against Cortifex and the Third Reich. These entities are known as Syraxis the Shadow, Belikar the Warlock, Invictor the Destroyer, and Nordicus the Conqueror. And at launch, they will provide players with the following artifacts and abilities. So basically, it's just Frost Blast, Ring of Fire, Energy Mine, and what is it called? The Aether Shadow, Dark Aether. What is it called? Aether Shroud. There we go. Aether Shroud. So the first one is called Dragon of Syraxis. Spawns an ethereal explosive, dealing massive damage to enemies who set it off, which is Energy Mine. Mask of Belikar cloaks you in the Dark Aether, masking your presence from enemies for 5 seconds. Aether Shroud. Sword of Invictor sparks an ethereal flame to boost damage for anyone within its radius for 15 seconds. Horn of Nordicus summons a frigid vortex, damaging enemies with the initial blast and slowing those who enter. So I gotta say, this is definitely a downgrade from what we had with Cold War. And I understand, they have to reserve quote unquote content for us to, have later in the game. But if this system, this particular system, if you've read the whole blog, you know that there is a lot of new things. But this particular system of field upgrades, in this case, they're gods and the artifacts and whatever, they've taken away I think 5 other ones. I think there's Healing Aura plus these 4. Then there's Frenzied Guard. There's the electric one and then the plant one. So we're missing about 5 or 4 or 5. And I get that they need to reserve content, but like I've said along this whole journey, the fact that they've built this whole system inside of Cold War and then they're just taking it away for DLC content, well, that's a little shitty considering we just finished that game. It would be different if there was 6 months in between, 8 months in between, a whole year for the next COD or 3 years for the next COD. I get it. We need to reset the cycle at that point, but we just finished that game and it just got completed and they're taking away content and then, gonna fill it up during the DLC season with the same stuff we just went through. Now, luckily, as we'll get into in another video, we don't have to do the whole Dark Aether Crystal bit, which is a good thing in my opinion. But let's continue on here because, like I said, this is just a little bit of a shame because if you look on to the Sword of Invictor and as well as the Mask of Belikar, they've dropped the time of each of these abilities in half. I think for Aether Shroud, it was 10 seconds cloaked in the Dark Aether and, it increased your speed. And this one cuts your time inside of Ring of Fire to 15 seconds. Whereas at the end of our Cold War season, it was 30 seconds and it would block enemies who shot stuff at you and stuff like that. So definitely a downgrade, but it also depends on how the enemies are inside of Vanguard. We haven't played the game yet, so we can't really judge that. So if we don't need to have our Ring of Fire block blast coming towards us, well, then it might not be a necessary benefit to have if no enemies are going to be shooting at us. But here we go to the part where Mr. Awful Waffles was right. He was absolutely right, and I'm so glad he was. New narrative voices. In addition to their gameplay benefits, these Dark Aether entities will serve as in-game characters in their own right. While the narrative will primarily be driven by the voices of demonologist Gabriel Kraft, Oberfuhrer von List, German is hard for me, and Cortifex the Deathless, the other Dark Aether entities will provide their own unique gallows humor and commentary throughout the game. This is such a good sign. This is such a good sign. Similarly, the players can expect the operatives the entities are bonded with to be a bit more, shall we say, expressive with their opinions compared to the more serious mil-spec tone of the operators in Cold War. Although the setting of Vanguard may be brutal, let's face it, we're all here to have some fun. And yes, that's exactly what I want to hear. Let's have fun with this. Let's get spooky. Let's get fantastical. Let's get weird. Let's get kind of raunchy. Let's get interesting with this. I want cool characters that I want to not necessarily like bond with the character, but I want to load up and think, you know what? I want to use Frostblast because that dude is hilarious. One of the best things about the Cerberus wonder weapon from Mauer der Toten was that thing had funny little quotes depending on which, character you got. And I just think that was such a cool little touch. And the fact that they're doing it with these characters is such a good sign. It's such a good sign. So I really got to say, I'm not too keen on the fact that they're stripping away abilities for the Dark Aether artifacts, but maybe over time we'll have the ability to upgrade them because there is more to this game than just the artifacts, just the perks and stuff like that. You can actually go through and do these things called covenants, which we're going to talk about in the next video. But I really do think that this is the right way to go with the narrative voices, but hopefully they just don't keep these abilities so limited because they're literally stripping away features we just had, a week ago, which is kind of strange. Well, guys, that is going to do it for this video. If you liked it, leave a thumbs up. And if you really, really loved it, then stick around for a subscription. That would be pretty awesome for all of us. And if you don't like the channel in a little while, you can always unsubscribe. It's free either way. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Stick around. We're going to have more content out today because there is a ton to cover inside of this blog. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.